Okay, y'all, I am so very excited for today's podcast episode. Christy Dreiling has been one of my expanders in business and life for a really long time. I'm friends with her daughter-in-law, Sammy, and Sammy has been on the podcast a couple years back as well. But I recently saw that Christy and her partner, Gonz, who's on here with us today, have been practicing and teaching Kabbalistic technology through their retreats, through their coaching, through partnership coaching and all of that kind of stuff. And I really wanted you two on to come talk about this. I've had Ellie Sheva on the podcast. We talked Bread of Shame, and that was just really a great conversation. But it's so nuts because I've been doing human design coaching for 4 years now, and people always come to me wanting to talk about their marriage and their partnerships. And I'm like, I don't freaking have it figured out. I don't. And first of all, I'm going to send all of y'all Christy and Gonz's way because they are great at the partnership coaching. And that's something that me and my husband are working on. But man, Kabbalah, and then a lot of these feminine and masculine principles that I've been playing around with lately seem to be the magic trick, honestly. And it still takes work and everything, but seems to be the magic trick. So I just had to have you guys on to talk about your relationship, what you teach, all of these things. Welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about y'all, how long you've been together, when you met, and any other fun stuff you want to tell about yourselves.
Oh gosh, I love the y'all.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
you can, right,
Yeah.
Texas?
Yes, Texas.
Thank you. Yeah, so we met 4 years ago.
4 years. Yeah.
Um, and it's interesting because about a year ago, we were at a spiritually hungry retreat in Mexico.
Mm.
And Ella Chavez, who's a Kabbalistic teacher at the Kabbalah Center, her husband was sitting with us at the dinner table, and he asked us about our story. And we proceeded to tell him a little bit about how we met, and he's like, "Oh my goodness, you literally had to have a million angels come together for that
Mhm.
meeting. You understand how powerful that is." And so it is a pretty powerful story, and I'll let you share some of it from your perspective because we both have different perspectives of where we were at that time in
Yeah.
our life. So,
Yeah, but this is how it started, right? Like 4 years ago, we both were having like a big turn in our lives, and one of those, Christy was kind of like heartbroken from coming out from a relationship, traumatic relationship, and going to a spiritual retreat in Mount Shasta, and I was living in Los Angeles by that time, um, and yeah, lose my job and everything through the pandemic, and got like a quick decision to sell everything and just to find a new direction in my life, and bought a, bought a van. At that time it was empty. I just throw my mattress there and started driving up north, and I ended up meeting her in a grocery store. But the first time, beautiful part of it is like we made eye contact, and we didn't talk. It was the time, the beginning of the pandemic, and we used the mask, so we can see that energy flowing between us without speaking, right? Without making, seeing our faces completely. So we kind of like felt that energy, and was the moment we got together back again when she was paying for her stuff and I was paying for my stuff in the register, and we smiled to each other. And she left. I paid for my stuff, and when I went out, I was looking for her, and she was gone. And I say, "Wow, well, that was beautiful, but if it meant to be, it would be." And
Mhm.
I completely, totally forgot about her, and I think she did the same.
I actually said the same thing.
And she did the same,
Yeah,
same
I had
thing.
feelings, I had these butterflies, and I'm like, what was that all about? And I had been on a plant medicine retreat for 9 days, and I had just surrendered, let go, went through all of this work. And there's a longer story that will be in my next book that I'm writing
Mhm.
right now that will be able to tell people the depth of the integration work. But once we both had freed ourselves from the matrix, it's when we were able to actually
Yeah,
find each other for the real work to begin.
yeah.
Mhm.
It was the starting point for sure. For me,
Yeah.
in my side of the story was like I was really letting go. At the time, I was starting my supplement business, and in the moment that my biggest production arrived, pandemic was announced, and I had to reinvent myself. It was like a big word I had to do myself, like let go and trust and have certainty, even if it was, dark and there was no future.
Mm-hmm.
And my heart told me just like get a car, get a van, and just driving up north. I didn't have any reasons to do that. I didn't have any plans to do that. I was just following my heart, and that's where the work started for me. And it was a big time when I was not looking for nothing. It was like really surrender in nature, connected and grounded. And she appeared into my life.
I
Yeah.
love that so much.
Really
I
beautiful.
was not expecting.
I love that so much. And I love what you said, Christy, too, about it was once you left the matrix that you found each other. My husband and I, we've gone through the ringer in the last 4 years, and everybody who listens to this episode or this podcast knows. But especially the past year, we've moved across state and we've sort of both let go of so many things. Like he's in many ways left his job. I left the music industry. I left a few other things that I was part of. And we're just sort of like, it's like we jumped out of an airplane and we're not quite sure what's going on. But we were talking about that this morning on a hike, and like it makes me like emotional thinking about it because I never knew how beautiful things could be when you just like let go of the crap that doesn't matter, you know? And we were talking about how much we've grown in the past year, but it wouldn't have happened if there weren't hardships, you know? And he doesn't do Kabbalah. Only I do Kabbalah. Um, but that's the whole point of it, is like it only takes one person to sort of make a big change, and he's seen a big change in me. And it was so funny because like sometimes I'll forward him some of David Guillaume's reels or whatever. He's like, please don't do that. I just would rather you explain it to me like in your language. You know, he was like, I would want to have a conversation, so I don't want like a video from somebody else. So it's pretty funny. Anyways, I just love that because I was like, wow, that's what we've been doing the past year, is like getting out of the matrix, and it's freaking hard in some ways, but it is also like such a beautiful gift once you're just detached from so many of those things that you think really matters that we're taught really matters. Okay, so one thing that has been really fascinating for me, in I've only been studying Kabbalah for 6 months now. I know that Christy, you were introduced to it like 15 years ago and then sort of took a break and then started up again with Gonz. The idea of tikkun mates and soulmates. And for anybody listening who doesn't know what tikkun means, tikkun is sort of our spiritual baggage that we carry with us from previous lifetimes, if you believe in that. And it's what ends up making us reactive, and just impatient, angry, upset, and do all, me, I have control issues, especially with my husband. So just like all of those things are tikkun. And it's so crazy because ever since I learned about this, I was like, wow, okay, my husband's my tikkun mate. You know, this is the deal. And we had we were set up by friends. We didn't have this like, Kismet, Mount Shasta story and like all of that kind of stuff. And it's weird because I knew that he would be my person. And he knew the same thing, but like almost immediately we started going through really, really hard stuff, and we weren't awake yet. We were just like reactive, reactive, reactive. And honestly, there were times that we talked about getting a divorce because we were just so reactive and in that state. And I really was just always like, he's not my soulmate. Like, he's not my soulmate. And then once I learned about Kabbalah, I was like, okay, he's my tikkun mate. And now I'm realizing that there are actually aspects of my soulmate that are coming into him now. And it's beyond, I'm like, what in the world? Like, what in the world? Like, it's wild. So, do you believe that you two are soulmates or tikkun mates? Both? If you want to like give a few stories or just chat about that a little bit, how do you help each other in the process of cleaning up your baggage?
That's a beautiful question. First of all, I really resonate with what you say. I think, at the first beginning when you met your partner, it's the first stage is love. It's love. It's all about love, but that love with the time gets depleted. So love is not enough to maintain a relationship, and that is when the hard work starts, right? And that's so important that you get to know now part of yourself, to your partner, and you are overcoming your cocoon from your past. Through him, you can see a new chapter of the relationship that is flourishing. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, when we first met, it was very similar. Like there was passionate love, and then there was like it was a roller coaster. Like one minute we were madly in love, and there was more sex in the bedroom. Passion. Never have I experienced anything like that before. I was like, wow, I'm glad you got all that experience before.
That's like the first experience. Yeah, the first experience is about chemical attraction, right?
Yeah.
It's like
we're on drugs. Yeah.
But I had never felt that way
yeah.
before, like, and then he's Latin on top of it, so it was all kinds of, and so then there was that, and then it was like, I came out of a trauma wound right after I'd met him, and I had a lot of fear that was coming up, insecurities that I had never had. Like I could stand on stage for 16,000 beautiful women and love them all. And then all of a sudden I'm insecure. Like I'm seeing parts I didn't understand about him or his culture. And then we're just going through this. And we went through it, and we have still gone through it over 4 years. And so we know that we're cocoon mates for sure. But I do believe, like you said, as we begin to elevate our consciousness and become less reactive, we get different parts of our soulmate downloaded into our partner. And I start to see more parts of him that are everything that I believed I knew he had the potential to be, and then vice versa. And so I would say it's probably a combination of both. And I only say that because of how we divinely met. It was pretty insane.
And I think also relationships are always shifting. Always shifting. We are changing, we're growing. And through that growing, we also, getting toward the parts that have been buried there for a long time. We are choosing this relationship to go over and over and over just to heal that. So we're going to fall in love in different areas. And we're going to get to know each other better through the years in the spiritual work.
Well, and part of the time what happens is when we're reactive, it's like what's showing up in him that's causing my reactivity is a past wound, whether it was a wound I had with him or it was a wound before him. And so the practice, I know for me, and it is hard when you get that reactive moment. And in Kabbalah, it's pause, what a pleasure. But when you're in the moment, sometimes pause, what a pleasure just doesn't happen. You're like, I should have done that, and you think about that later. But for me, I'm just recognizing so much more that it's such a gift and such an opportunity that it comes up to the surface. And if we can see it that way and we see it as an opportunity, how freaking amazing that we have this partner in our life that is showing us all of our shit that we have not healed yet. And there are so many people that wish they were in a relationship, but they think it's going to be all sunshine, rainbows, and unicorns. But that's not what relationship is all about. Like it is supposed to be beautiful, but it's also supposed to heal you and elevate you to your next level for both partners. And that's true. And Gary Zukav, a dear friend of mine, wrote a book.
Seeds of the Soul?
No, not Seed of the Soul, his other one. It was about soul partnerships. And his wife who had passed, his late wife Linda, who is such a beautiful soul, they talk about that spiritual partnership that we have this gift to be able to help each other, and that it's our ego takes over and we're like, we want to kill, destroy, run, avoid, all those things, right?
But it's the work, and it's always in constant evolution, and we have been going through phases like you say, to almost split, and it was not too long ago, because we went through, probably like we hit the wall with our main cocoon, and we decided
well,
to.
and also the medicine.
We decided to stay together. I think we have a pretty strong foundation, and this go through this. You never leave a relationship when you're going through hard moments.
Mm-hmm.
You always heal the things. You always come with a positive mindset. You always come clean, without reactive. And if you want to leave the relationship, that's the moment. Never when things are wrong, are like, dark or whatever you're going through. And yeah, so every time that we go through our fire, me being a Latin, have a lot of passion, and she being more polite and more like very like she has like words.
I'm a Kansas
she's
girl.
words for my affirmation, so it's like I have to be very careful when I say words. So we get to this fire and we get very intense, and then we kind of like, I'm a Sagittarius too, and I'm like, it's time to do the fire, we like turn fire everything. Then we realize our love is so powerful, because even if we burn everything, we stay strong still together.
Mm-hmm.
And we ask for apologies, and we realize the aspects of us that we need to heal, and that has been like more reinforced with the time, with the years. I think we realize now that we need to go through this up and down, and it's totally reactive, that it's fine. But then when we go down, we realize of our mistakes, and it's part of the work. And this is like my friends say, right?
Yeah.
I was laughing because you said you're Sagittarius. Me and my husband are both Sagittarius, so that's real fun. And then it was one of our like worst time periods was actually only a couple months ago during eclipse season. And it was wild. It was like we had reverted back 10 years, because we met 12 years ago, and we got into this one argument where it was like I felt like I was 20 years old, and I'm 40, but I felt like this reactive 20-year-old. And I think that we were meant to get into that, because to show us like how far we've come, because I was like, who was that? We were both just acting so ridiculously, and that almost ruined us. And he's not that much into astrology, like he sort of understands it. And he was like, well, maybe it was the eclipse. And I was like, I think it was the freaking eclipse. Like I do, because we sort of went backwards a little bit, and then it was almost like we went forward a decade now. Not that everything's cleaned up at all, but it's just a little bit wild. And speaking of, I know that you'll have retreats and all of that kind of stuff. Speaking on plant medicine, we actually, a year ago, March 2023, we did 3 rounds of combo together over a moon period. And he was like for it, because he had heard somebody told him that it helped with allergies, and in Texas there's really bad seasonal allergies, so he was a little bit doing it for the physical health benefits. But whoa, like it was sort of nuts. We did the first one's supposed to help with physical health, the second with mental emotional health, and the third with generational trauma and ancestral trauma. So we did that, and then a week later we moved to our dream place in Texas. It was like a miracle. So I think we've utilized different types of plant medicines, and I don't know that we'd be here if it weren't for those,
What's interesting is we hosted Shasta, and we were holding the container for beautiful souls, right?
Mhm.
And we really didn't think about the work that would come from us doing it with them, because we were just holding container. But we did the medicine, we did the combo, and we did the mushroom with them as well, and the sananga and the hape and whatnot. And what happened was that as soon as the event was over, we had just this intense energy moving through both of us. And then we got home and we are talking to our shaman, and I'm like, what the heck? We feel like we went backwards. And he's laughing. I'm not laughing at you guys. This is just so typical of between 2 to 6 weeks after the medicine, that it's just pushing out everything that is residual from what was left over. So we same. I mean, it was an eclipse, but you sometimes are like, what is happening? Like, I'm 48 years old. This is this is not what I intended to be happening,
Mm-hmm.
and yet it's also really what I intended to be happening, because I want to reach the highest level I can with as much peace in my heart and enjoy as much of my life as I possibly can while I'm here. So if that means 4 years or 5 years of intensity so I can spend the rest of my years in peace,
Mm-hmm.
hallelujah, I'll do
Yeah.
it, you
Yeah.
know?
We respect that. We love that because we come to the understanding of like thanks God we have ourselves as a relation in a relationship, because that is what make us trigger our wounded child. It needs to be heal it, and the only way is like we know what are the triggers and help us to come, the child out and realize that we need to make the peace and we need to make it heal it. And medicine also, yeah, like you said, brings stuff to the
Brings it up.
surface,
And
and
you
it's
have to remember
beautiful.
that. That's the hard thing,
Mm-hmm.
is remembering, not
Um,
taking it personal when
Yep.
you're in it.
Yep.
and also it's the time also when it comes out, because you cannot heal nothing that is buried. It has to come out.
Yep.
It comes out, you need to make the peace with it, and you need to work on that, study and we understand what's the root of the cause. That's why the child is so reactive to when insecurity presents, or when it's not being heard, or when it's not being understand. And that's so important. I think the most important work of all of this, and closing a little, it's like the after everything we do is the integration work,
Mm-hmm.
to really pay attention to the after, and Kabbalah has been a great integration tool for this.
Well, and that's why we're so grateful for our Kabbalah, the last 4 years of deep dive study into it, because after medicine, we now have tools to work with,
Yeah.
you know, and that's powerful.
Yes.
I think that's a really huge thing, because for my husband he was part of a church in Texas that did ayahuasca. And so he started, I've not done that. I definitely, it's on my list, but at that point I was so not ready for that. He did that and it opened up a lot of things for him. And then I got into, mushroom medicine and MDMA and combo and all of that kind of stuff, and just upkeep with that. But it was like, no matter, like, it's almost like if you don't have some guidelines or some tools for going through that after all of that, like those can be beautiful experiences and very healing and awesome and life changing. But then if you don't have the everyday tools for when you're not on the medicine, it's like you're sort of like flailing. You don't really know what to do. And I'm just like, oh my, how have I gone through life without the technology of Kabbalah? Like, I just don't even understand. And it's really weird because I grew up in the church, in the Christian church, and I went through a few weeks of being sort of angry at the Christian church for not teaching Kabbalah, because it's a technology that predates Judaism, that predates Christianity, that predates everything. And then I had to just be like, okay, this was before that. Jesus was a Kabbalist. Like, I have to just like lean into, like, there was some reason that went on, and I need to know that this came at the correct time. It came on my 40th birthday, which was sort of special. That's when I heard about it. It was sort of nuts for that. And I know that I maybe wouldn't have been ready for it at age 15 or 20 or whatever. But I do hope, I'm not going to push it on my daughter. She's 4.5, but I do hope that it is somehow part of her life. She cracks us up because we'll be in the car and me or Cam will say, "What a pleasure." And she'll be like, "Why do you keep saying what a pleasure? Like, why do you keep saying that?" It's so funny. One other, well, I have two other quick questions. In Kabbalah 3, we really dive deep into the roles of male and female energy within a long-term partnership. And this is something I'm realizing has been one of my main issues all along. I think as a, if you were growing up in the 80s or 90s as a woman, you sort of were raised to be a man. We were raised to be independent and masculine and self-sufficient. And that is not how God made us. Like, it's truly not how God made us. And I'm very grateful for some aspects of feminism that have gotten to us to a point of equality and being able to have our own checking accounts and make our own money and all of those. But I think it's killing us now. Like, honestly, I think that women being in their masculine is screwing up the whole world. I really, really do. If one of you guys wants to take that to explain the female and male roles in Kabbalah and how you have each stepped more into those. And I know we both have both. We both have I'm in my masculine when I work for sure. And I try to be in my feminine otherwise. Mothering can be masculine too. So it's nuanced, but yeah, take it away on y'all's insights on masculine and feminine.
No, I just want to give it to you, but I want to give a little introduction about what for us means masculine and feminine energy, essence. And like you say, if we're not talking about man, woman, we're talking about energies and essence. It can be a woman with a masculine energy, it can be a man with a very feminine energy, and it's totally fine. It's just about understanding that all those are polarities, like the magnetism of the North Pole and the South Pole, and understanding that those polarities tend to attract each other. A man with a very masculine essence will be very attracted to a woman with a very feminine essence, and vice versa. So this is just understanding the polarities. But if you want to share about a little more about what feminine energy means,
I'm going to throw in some of the Kabbalistic viewpoints as well as just a few of our own learning along the way. But for feminine energy, it always needs to feel cherished and like it's number one. So a lot of times if your partner is making work number one, or making their friends number one, or making their mother number one, or whatever it might be, the feminine energy is going to feel not safe. And so as long as she always, like David always talks about, every single day you need to earn your relationship. So it doesn't matter how much time necessarily that you spend to make them feel number one, but if they truly know in their heart that you're making them a priority, right? Responding to their text messages, or being conscientious or kind, or thoughtful about their emotions and their feelings and their needs, whatever their needs are, right? So if you're going to buy them gifts, but that's not really their love language, well, you're going to be missing the boat, right? So that's a really, really big one. And the other one, the women, obviously we always have to feel safe. We have to feel safe in the container with our partner. And knowing that our partner is going to be there for us emotionally, and be able to hold that presence for us. Like, don't criticize us. So even though the male energy likes to get criticism because that's how they get better, a feminine energy is going to criticize herself. She criticizes herself all day. So where you, as the masculine energy, wants to get better and maybe work out better to get a six-pack, and then you send her a workout video of something that you think she should do to help her to get a six-pack, she's going to take that as criticism and that she's not good enough. And it's simple things like that. Like, you never want to criticize the feminine vessel. It's not good, not a good thing. So those are the three major things in regards to how to hold the container for the feminine energy.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. You're like free like the ocean.
We are free like the ocean
Exactly.
until we get emotional, and then we become a tsunami.
And we are so different. As masculine energies, we are like more like she was saying, like problem fixated. We need to go from point A to point B to find the solution, to find the error where it is fixated, and then move forward. When women come with emotion, it has no really a source from where. We come with a problem. We want to just find as a man, as a masculine energy, find the root of the problem, because we think if we found it, we're going to solve the problem, and it doesn't work like that. Maybe the problem is hidden in many layers. And what women need in the moment, masculine, feminine energy, is just to, be understood and be feel safe that she can come with her emotion, and the man has to close the gap to bring that beautiful space so she can flourish and she can heal it. That is a very difficult task for us, for men, because it's the opposite of the way that we think. So I think masculine.
Can you stop before you do
Yeah.
that? Just for an example.
Yeah.
It was Mother's Day, and I want to really praise him for a moment of all of our work we've done. We were in Ashland,
Yeah.
and it was Mother's Day, and I wasn't near my kids. Okay, so he didn't have kids. I have 3 grown kids, and every Mother's Day, he took on the role of being a father when he's not one.
Yeah.
Like how so we go to this coffee shop, and the woman behind the counter, I'm already starting to feel sad that I don't have my family around, and she's like, "Oh, what are you guys gonna do today?" And he's like, we're gonna work. And I was just like, it was the thing that just set that emotional trigger off inside. So I went and sat down, and I don't get angry hardly ever. I cry, right? Or I get sad. So we're sitting there, and I look, and I said, "Do you mind if I share something with you?" And he's like, "Sure, what's going on?" And he was like a whiplash, and I tell him, "Well, it really hurt my feelings when you said we were going to work, because today was supposed to be, the day that, I feel special. And my sons used to bring
Even
me."
if we were sitting with our computers to work,
Right.
to go to work.
And so his first minute, he starts to get reactive, and then he just, like, it takes 2 minutes maybe, and then he calms down, and he pulls me close, wraps his arm around me, and he's like, "I love you, honey. What do you want to do today for your day?" And he just like completely melted me, like completely melted it. And so that took lot of work to get to that point, because it wasn't always like that.
And it's totally good for men to recognize this pattern, because this is what brings a lot of problems and pain in relationships. And men, when they go through these scenarios, it's totally natural that they feel disgust by the woman, because they cannot understand. So like, why is this going on? I didn't do anything wrong. I have no damage. So we feel that disgust, and then that disgust is what makes us feel that we make us behave in a reactive way, and that's not just bringing more fire to the fire. So the masculine energy, we learned this through our mentor David Gehan. He can manifest his ultimate life and all the balance in the world if he learns one thing. And this one thing is that he always have to be giving. He, as a masculine energy, he is the giving energy. He needs to be like the light of the creator, like the sun, always be giving. And it channels energy from the creator, and there's a very creative force of life. And it needs trust. It really needs trust. And as a second important fact, men are very insecure. Even if we say no, we are very insecure, and we deposit all of our trust to our partner. When we feel like she's not trusting in us, and like in a 10% or in a 5%, we can really pick that energy up, and that will make us feel uncomfortable or reactive, or just like losing our enthusiasm, our purpose, and a lot of things. So we love challenge and criticism too, but it comes in a positive way, right? Because we are problem fixated. We need to know what's wrong to fix it. And I think we need to be really confident, in the way we bring light. One of the most important ways that men's masculine energies brings light to the world is through sex, right? So one of I should be not saying this to all the women there, but one of the ways that the woman can destroy a man's vessel is criticizing him on the bed. It will destroy him. And I think that's pretty much about masculine energy, and understanding these two ways, like these two complex mechanisms or structures, is like so vital in today's world to maintain a healthy relationship. Because also, one more thing, roles have changed so much, and now we see women bringing more money than men, and men taking all the roles. And so what's the men's worth, what it should be? And before was money, bringing, I'm so a man because I provide with my family, I'm so masculine, but now those things change. What does, if you don't provide, you're not going to be a masculine energy man, but it's more, in the presence, in the balance, in the centeredness as a man that you have to cultivate, knowing that your woman can trust you in any scenario, that you're always going to be fully present, undistracted by anything that is going around you. And that's the way that she can trust you 100%. And that's the way that you can life and energy to the relationship.
Yeah, and I think, times have changed so much, because it used to be that the man would bring home the bacon, and that was a level of safety, right? Like that was considered safety. And then he would probably go have multiple affairs, right? That's the old way. And this new way, the feminine energy won't tolerate that anymore. And they can take care of their own. So the masculine energy is learning how to adapt to this toxic masculinity that for so long, just ran the cycles of toxic, I guess, ancestral patterns, right? And so if the feminine energy feels safe, and if it feels safe by being heard, loved, seen, nurtured, honored, and also the elements of if every relationship dynamic is so different, so it's not just money anymore.
We cannot just generalize either too, that it was like that before, like men were going out for the weekend and having affairs, but maybe probably was like
it was great.
Yeah, but we cannot generalize that, right? It's always levels of toxicity in the masculine and the feminine, and it's totally fine just recognizing those aspects and know how to heal it, or recognizing your own pattern, our own patterns. That is the solution. Right? That's what we've been working on so much lately.
I know that was one thing for me, is I was almost, how they say helicopter parents. I was like the helicopter wife, where it was like, okay, if Cam was making dinner for our child, I'd be like over him being like, is everything healthy? Is everything okay? Like that. And there's no sense of respect or trust in that kind of situation, One thing I will say for anybody listening, mostly women listen to my podcast. So for any woman listening who's like, great, yeah, I want to help my marriage. My husband won't do Kabbalah with me. My husband doesn't either. And I promise you, like, obviously, the best case scenario would be to have a partnership like you two, who you're doing it together. And I hope that that is the case for me eventually. And usually that does end up happening, where if the woman starts doing it and practicing it and really gives her all spiritual effort for 6 months or so, the man will notice a change and will be open to talking about this and whatever. I will say one thing that did help me in the meantime, as Cam was sort of not ready for it and coming around. There's a book called The Surrendered Wife, which I wish it did had a different title, because it's great for any, whether you're married or not, like any partnership, that really helped me, because Kabbalah shows you what it means to be in a masculine feminine balanced relationship. But that book, The Surrendered Wife, sort of gave you exact hand holding on how to do it. The author, I forget her name, she was on Kelly Brogan's podcast recently. It was a really good conversation. But that gave me the nuts and bolts on like how to do this on an everyday basis, combined with Kabbalah, that then really helped me to like lean back, be in my feminine, trust him, be more in my feelings than in stating like, I think this. It's like, I really feel hungry. And then he'll be like, well, let me come make you a, he wants to solve my problems. He wants to make my life better. He wants to make my life more comfortable. I just need to state how I feel all the time, So.
And there is some, like, I use this example with my younger son. He's a Sag, and he likes to drive fast. He's 20.
Yeah.
But since he was 16, he would always like to do things fast. And that always gives red flags to me and his brothers, and we're always like, you got to slow down, buddy. You got to, and there are, I think, definitely different levels of trust. So if your husband gets into the kitchen and every time he gets into the kitchen, he burns something, right? then there's probably a reason why you need to stand there and just make sure that
Mhm,
everything's.
mhm.
But if every time he gets in the kitchen, he proves to you over and over and over again that he's good in the kitchen. You
Yeah.
know, he's not gonna mess anything up. You know, he's good. I mean, what's the worst it can be? He's not gonna put poison in the grilled cheese. You know,
Mhm.
so I think that we just have to get real with ourselves and say, has he shown up over and over and over and over again and proven, you know, that he can handle this responsibility? And that just goes back to parenting, right? Like
Yeah.
one of my kids was more responsible than the other in a certain area, so they got more flexibility and freedom.
Mhm.
But if I turn my head and every time I'm getting a phone call from a parent saying, your kid's in trouble again, they did this, well, they've lost their freedom
Yeah.
Yeah,
to some degree.
indeed, we don't trust, but we have to trust at the end, right? The truth of it, like he's gonna find a way, even if he has to go to jail or not. We have the
Yep.
certainty
Right.
that he's in the process of learning something.
Yeah.
Not get trapped into the fear
That's so
of
true.
like trying to control it,
So true.
because that is when we start. We think we're giving,
And
we're
you're
taking.
taking. Yeah.
Yep.
That's when giving is stop being giving, and you want to protect. You want to start manipulating things, and that's not the right way.
Yeah.
Always, even if it hurts, even if we see like you, for example, I was trying to teach Kabbalah to a husband because you think that is a good thing. It's something
Yep.
that you want to show your heart. He has his own process, and like Kabbalah says, we cannot give the vessel the energy that is not ready to
Mhm.
receive.
Yep.
So the best way that we can show up is by just being there, standing still, and showing with love and appreciation our thoughts, and without infusing fear or controlling. And I think that's the most healthy way to teach, uh, from like unconditional love of the side, right? Spoken.
Good perspective.
Yeah.
We like to bounce back perspectives all the time.
Yeah.
We
Yes.
should be at
I
the dinner
love
table.
it. I love it. Yeah. It's also shown me sort of my past lack of trust in God. You know, it's like, okay, I'm trying to control this human being. And yeah, it's like a level of trust in the person, but it's like, wait, then I don't really have trust in the creator. If I'm, you know what I mean? If I'm trying to like put my hands in this or whatever. Oh my goodness. I feel like we could talk for 2 more hours about all of this stuff. And I know that many people will want to connect with you on this. How can any of my listeners who feel connected to you work with you? What kind of offerings do you guys have going on right now?
We have a lot. Gonz just started working with men
Yeah.
Oh,
Supporting.
on,
awesome.
yeah, and really helping men to step into their divine masculinity and that learn how to communicate with their partners
Regain
and
their power. And
regain their power. Yes, a lot.
feel more confident.
There's a lot there, so it's really exciting for him.
Yeah.
I'm excited for him because the world needs it.
Yes.
And need more men like that. We also have we do sacred plant medicine retreats. We're hosting another one this fall. They're pretty powerful, so you can just reach out to us on Instagram. I have courses, I do coaching, and I just launched my speaking career, so I'm really excited.
Yay.
For that. That's going to be phenomenal. So anything, we have essential oil, cosmic love that vibrates at the frequency of love. So there's a lot. We have a lot there, but you just reach out to one of us on Instagram, and we'd be happy to serve you
Our
guys.
mission is to support each other,
Yeah.
and create community and consciousness and elevate frequency.
Yeah,
That's what we
I
love.
love it. I
love
love it.
frequency.
I love it so much. Well, in the show notes, I will put all of this information for everybody. So please go give Christy and Gonz a follow and check into all of their offerings. And yeah, I think it's just, this is something Kabbalah is new to me, and it's very, very new to improving my marriage. And so anytime anybody comes to me and they're like, oh my gosh, what do I do in my marriage? I'm like, okay, I can look at your human design and I can tell you a few things on that, but I don't have a whole lot of resources. So I've been sending them to Kabbalah, but now I have you guys to send them to. So thank you.
Allison, what are you? Your human design.
I'm a 6'2" sacral generator. What about y'all? Do you know yours?
Actually, I'm a 6'2" manifesting generator.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And you're a
beautiful.
manifesting generator,
Yeah.
but I don't remember what yours
Exactly.
yours
That was
was.
something
I would have guessed that with all of your different your business umbrella of like the 15 things under the business umbrella. That's very Manny Gen vibes, and it's beautiful and it's perfect. It's what you're meant to do. You're not supposed to have one thing. So yeah. Yay.
But
Well,
one partner for sure. If
one
you need
partner. Not
that
at the time.
one partner and then many creative outlets underneath
There we
y'all's umbrella. Thank you so much for taking time out of your Friday to chat with us. I'm so excited for everybody to get into y'all's worlds. Please go give Christy and Gonz a follow on Instagram. Send them a DM. Thanking them for this episode and coming on. Thank you both. I appreciate you so much.
Appreciate you.
Yes, you're amazing. Thank you and happy Friday.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.